Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so in today's video, following on from my most recent video all about Mars through the signs, we are going to be diving into the Mars houses. So looking at Mars through the houses today. And just to mention before we dive in, please make sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let me know, where is Mars within your birth chart? Mine is in Capricorn in the 5th house in my chart. And I also want to say Mars through the signs is going to be the how. But Mars through the houses is going to show you the where. So make sure that you watch for your Mars sign to see, okay, how is this manifesting? And then come here, watch for the houses, and you'll see where. All right. The Mars houses, Mars through the houses today. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching. And if you would like to book a reading with me, you can do so by going to hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my practical astrology products, guides, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. And I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon for all of your support. If you would like to become a patron, which it is a great way to support the channel, you can do so by going to the links below. Thank you. Now, there is an episode over at my podcast, the Cosmic Check-In Podcast. You can also find it below. But over there, I talk about Mars in greater detail. So if you want more information about Mars in astrology as a whole, make sure to give that episode a listen. It is episode 9. And just to go over a few things about Mars before we go any further, before we dive into the houses. And I did touch on this, of course, within the Mars through the signs video, but just in case you missed it, Mars then can show how and where you are motivated. And so we're going to really be focusing on, what motivates you, how are you motivated, where are you motivated. In this video, it's more about the where, of course. Yes, Mars is so much about this. And this is where I want to say just a couple of things about motivation. And yes, I did mention this in the other video, but again, just to go over, just to remind you, a person's motivations are defined by an inner drive or need to move and to achieve their goals. When we feel motivated, we are more willing to take action. Now, according to an instructor, Sherry Hartzell, it was Maslow who proposed that our motivation is a result of fulfilling 5 basic needs. These are psychological, safety, social, esteem, and self-actualization. And it was Maslow who developed the hierarchy of needs theory in 1943. Okay. These 5 basic needs can impact our ability to put something into action, such as kickstarting our day, making a video for YouTube like I'm doing right now, or deciding to write that book that you've been putting off. So essentially, motivation is important. Motivation is the thing that really drives us and gets us moving. Furthermore, in this video, I want to touch on anger. So again, with Mars through the signs, we explored the how, but today we're going to look at the where. So where in life may you find yourself becoming more angered? Yes, I'm kind of laughing because I have Mars in the 5th and I'm like, is it that love and romance? These areas of my life make me angry. Anyway, a person's anger explains a natural human emotion. This is the thing. Anger is a natural human emotion, but it's also linked to our basic survival. Anger can be beneficial in that we can express our frustrations and our dissatisfaction toward others. We can also challenge others and really stand up for ourselves. It can even help us find solutions to problems. So, yes, anger is just really a way for us to stand up for ourselves, or even just it's a good way for us to say, hey, I don't like that. I don't want that. Yes, anger is not just like a super negative thing, but anger can be excessive, of course. And when unchecked, we can experience irrational outbursts. We may do certain things that, in the heat of the moment and then later regret it. And of course, whenever our anger is unmonitored, physical problems, it could very well manifest, such as high blood pressure. Also, I want to say that Mars is about our motivations and anger, but it's also about passion. It's about our willpower and our strength to keep going. I even think about how Mars rules both Aries and Scorpio, which is a bit of a theme that you're going to notice today as we explore Mars through the houses. But Aries is more of that outward physical side of Mars, and Scorpio is more of that stealthy, strategic, emotional, deep side of Mars, where it's our emotions that can really drive us forward. Still, Mars is about our energy levels, it's about our physical energy. So, how much fuel do you have left in the tank? How much energy do you have to burn? And Mars is also about goal setting, initiation, and self-assertion, our ability to start things, our ability to get the ball rolling. All right, so now we have explained the direction that we're headed in today, what we're focusing on. Let's now dive into Mars through the houses. First up, Mars in the first house. Mars in the first house, folks, your identity is shaped by your strength, by your courage, your passions, and your self-assertiveness. You tend to jump headfirst into new situations. Now, of course, this is where we got to keep in mind the sign. If Mars is in Taurus or Capricorn in the first house, you may not jump headfirst into new situations. You could be a lot more cautious. But still, there is this push. You may feel a stronger desire to initiate. There is also a desire to greet life with courage, with enthusiasm, with an ability, a wanting to accomplish, to really even accomplish your goals, accomplish the things that you set out to achieve, the things that you want, just to go after the things that you want. Others may often see you as a leader or as very independent. They notice your drive, they notice your willpower, your ambition, and your bravery really helps you face danger. It helps you overcome any challenges that you come up against throughout your life. And it's also your gut instincts that lead the way forward. So you may go after your goals with a passion, and you may have this, I'm going to keep moving forward attitude. Therefore, when we think about what motivates you in life, this where you may be motivated by your ability to really face life, by your ability to overcome, to face the challenging situations in your life. You may be motivated by your own independence. You may be motivated by your ability, to really put yourself first. Now, if you have Aries on the rising, so Aries in the first house, even if you have Scorpio on the rising or Scorpio in the first house, you may relate to some of this information. It's obviously going to be a lot different, but there could be just some things that you relate to there from what I said. But what you want to do if you have Aries or Scorpio there in the first house on the rising, you want to locate where Mars is within the chart for more information. However, disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest impatience. Disharmonious aspects can suggest this lack of tolerance for others as well. Just, a short fuse perhaps. And just no, this unwillingness to put up even with certain behaviors, which, hey, is not necessarily a bad thing. But hey, you can even possibly be demanding or selfish, and selfishness is not, I'm not saying that is super negative, but if the selfishness kind of does become negative, then this is where there can be issues. Still, perhaps you can be self-defeating with those disharmonious aspects, or possibly overly competitive. But naturally, with time, with effort, you can learn to manage these behaviors. All right, let's now move on to Mars in the second house. So if you have Mars in the second house, your personal resources and your self-worth are shaped by your independence, by your drive, by your will, by your motivations. Maybe you earn a living from being a leader or from starting something of your own. You may really value that, right? It's important to you that you have something of your own, that even your belongings and your materials, that they belong to you. This is about your personal resources here. Now, fitness, emergency services, protection, enterprise, sales, these areas may very well contribute to your income. And you can be daring, you can be assertive when it comes to pursuing money. Maybe money motivates you. Maybe earning your own living motivates you. And so you also value being an individual, being first. You value your fighting spirit. You value your ability to achieve your goals, perhaps to achieve your resource goals, your financial goals, or maybe what you're even motivated by is it's knowing yourself, knowing what you're capable of, how such matters are linked to your core values. And you may also even value not depending on others, and maybe that is what motivates you quite a bit. It's like, I'm motivated by me putting myself first here and even fighting for your physical security, your lifestyle. And you might spend fast, or you might earn money quickly. However, this is where the sign does come into the equation, right? Because like I said, you might spend fast or earn money quickly, but I mean, you could have Mars and Leo, for instance, and maybe for you, you know really what you value and what you want to save for, and you can be a lot more determined, right? More determined about saving and budgeting and this type of stuff. So you may have greater willpower to not spend super quickly. Or there could be this Mars and Aquarius energy, and things take longer. It's, you may find that it's not really about earning money super quickly. Maybe it requires some experimenting, playing around with new ideas. Or there could even be just even Mars and Gemini, and things are a lot more sporadic or scattered. Okay, so yes, this is where the sign is going to really play a role, a significant role, because as a reminder, the sign is going to show you the how, and then the house is going to show you the where. Now, we want to think about as well, if you have Aries or Scorpio ruling the second house cusp, you could very well relate to some of the information that I just said there. Not exactly, but you could relate to some of it. But what you want to do in this instance is you want to think about where actually is Mars. So if you have these signs, Aries or Scorpio ruling the second house cusp, look for Mars in the chart. See where it's located for more information then about resources and money and earnings, things like this, your physical security. However, here's the thing. Disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest arguments over money. There could be some issues there, or people starting arguments with you, trying to fight you over resources. You might be even too naive or possibly aggressive when it comes to these things. Naturally, with time, you can learn to manage these behaviors. Moving on to Mars in the third house, individuals. If you have Mars in the third house, your communication and your attitudes toward learning and education, they are shaped by your eagerness, by your ability to think quickly. You could very well interrupt others when they speak, or you could push in when you have something to say. There could be this real eagerness, this, I can't hold this in, I can't hold this back, I need to speak, I need to say this. And your thoughts may also be very fast, right? There's just a lot going on there. And you are an energetic and impulsive communicator. Naturally, we want to think about which sign Mars is in, because, I mean, if Mars is in Cancer, for instance, there could be more of this emotional push present. Or if Mars is in Virgo, there could be a much more analytical thing going on. And maybe, hey, you're a lot more observant or a lot more mindful or thoughtful. So you're not, you're less likely to interrupt, if you will. You can also learn quite fast. Naturally, again, this really depends on the sign. I mean, if Mars is in, for example, Capricorn, maybe this is not the case. Maybe it just takes you longer to really process in this way. But once you do learn something, it's sort of like cemented. Still, there is a willingness here to really get into it within conversations. And there's also a willingness to take the lead, possibly within conversations. Maybe you are motivated actually by new information, or you're motivated by gossip or interesting facts, right? From just by learning. Perhaps you want to share. There is this eagerness, this readiness to share your many ideas. And you could very well let out your anger and frustrations through the likes of writing or talking. You could be the types of people who prefer to rant. So if there is something maybe going on with you, you're upset, you want to rant about it. You just want to get it out. And there could also be possibly some disagreements or arguments with siblings or cousins here. And this may not necessarily be you arguing with them, but it could be a matter of you recognize them arguing with each other. I mean, if you have Mars and Libra in the third, maybe you feel like you are the diplomat, you're the mediator within sibling confrontations, stuff like this. But still, this is where we can notice these annoyances, right? It's like, why is everyone arguing? Why are they getting on like this? So these things can make you angry. And whilst you can be possibly pushy or, interruptive with your thoughts, you can also be encouraging. You can be encouraging, especially, if Mars is in Aries, for instance. You can be really motivating with your words. So if you have Aries or Scorpio ruling the third house cusp within your chart, you may relate to some of what I just said. So for instance, I know for myself, I have Scorpio ruling the third house cusp, and I do relate to some of that information. More so the sibling argument stuff. I relate to that. But yes, you may relate. And then what you also want to do is you want to locate where Mars is. So Mars will show you more information about your third house. So for me, like I said, I've got Scorpio on the third house cusp. Mars is in Capricorn in my chart. So as I was saying earlier, with being quite quick to learn or fast to speak, I really need to take my time. It has certainly been a process when it comes to learning and education. So yes, do keep in mind that. And I also want to mention disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest, well, feuds. Literally like arguing with other people or making up assumptions, arriving to certain conclusions without having all of the facts. Though with time, you can learn to manage. You can learn to manage these behaviors. Okay, let's now move on to Mars in the fourth house individuals. Your emotional security and your private self are shaped by your need for independence and freedom. It is possible that you moved out. You moved out of your family home from a very early age or as soon as you could. Maybe growing up, you felt this urgency, this restlessness of, I need out of here, I need freedom, I need my own space. And so there was much self-motivation there on your part to get out, to make something of your own, to have your own family perhaps. And within the family, you take the lead. You may be the ruler of the household, let's just say, the one who calls the shots. You show great courage and strength amongst your loved ones, and you can be energetic. You can be motivated within your home, right? Maybe this is where we notice your motivation, your drive. You may be even especially motivated when it comes to, for example, purchasing a home, right? Buying your own home, buying your own land, property, what have you. But you see, you can also become angered by others within your environment. And this is where we want to think about, again, the sign, right? Because the sign is going to show the how here. So, I mean, in the case of Mars being in Libra in the fourth house, perhaps you're going to be a lot more diplomatic there with your family and your loved ones. You try to find a common ground. But if maybe Mars is in, let's say, Sagittarius, then perhaps you're a lot more argumentative or vocal, very blunt about family matters that anger you. Mars could be in Aries, and you could be much more direct there with your family members if they annoy you. Still, this is where we're seeing here that you like to take the lead. And perhaps you become frustrated by your family's actions and also frustrated by past events. But you also feel motivated to keep moving forward. Maybe you are seen as quite an inspirational figure amongst your family, amongst your loved ones, because you had this will, right? This strength to make something of your own. Then again, this is where we also notice that certain emotions may be skimmed over. Maybe those closest to you will see your anger the most because, of course, planets in the fourth house, these planets are going to be more private and more personal. And those within your close family circle, people that you love, people that you trust, they're going to see these planets the most. So yes, they may see your anger there more than others. Maybe even you prefer it if people didn't see you angry outside of your home. Okay, we want to then also think about if you have Aries on the fourth house cusp, or if you have an Aries IC, even if you have Scorpio on the fourth house cusp or Scorpio on the IC, the information that I just communicated there could be some, some relation. But I just want to confirm here, when it comes to Aries versus Scorpio, Aries is going to be more of that physical outward expression, whereas Scorpio is going to be more sort of emotional and intense. So just to say that. So there could be some relatable information there. And then you want to think about, where is Mars, right? So where actually is Mars within the chart? Which house is it in? Because that's going to provide you with more information about your fourth house. However, disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest being, well, confrontational or possibly violent toward family. Of course, it's always good to look at the whole chart, but still, with time, you may learn to manage these behaviors and to maybe even be able to regulate your anger, or to, consider, right, why is that? Where is that coming from? And that could be possibly linked to the past or your own upbringing, your family, how your parents were. Hey, that could even be another thing. It could be more so that a particular parental figure is that way toward you or your family, right? They're very confrontational, and maybe you have this big thing about you where you're like, no, I need out of this. I need my own independence. Moving on to Mars in the fifth house. Mars in the fifth house individuals, like I said, I have this placement. So your creativity and your self-expression are shaped by your passions, your fitness levels, by your love for competition, and your desire to create something of your own. And oh my goodness, this is speaking to me. I am big on, okay, I want to create something of my own. And I love going to the gym. I love lifting heavy weights. I have Mars in Capricorn there. So with that being said, consider, what is the sign, right? What sign is Mars in? I mean, Mars could be in Pisces, for instance, and there is more of a desire to want to paint or dance, create films, stuff like this, which is funny because I also have Neptune in the fifth house. So there's kind of like a similar manifestation there. But I digress. You might produce a piece of art, a piece of literature, or music that displays your independence. Maybe this is what's so important to you. It's like, okay, whatever I'm creating, it's speaking to me. It's speaking to what I am like, who I am. Maybe you feel greater self-satisfaction knowing that you started something without having to rely on others. That makes you feel good. And that's the thing about Mars too. Mars is so much about our personal satisfaction. You might even enjoy taking part in competitive sports. This was certainly me as a kid. I mean, I took part in netball. I loved netball as a teenager. I loved sprinting. I loved long distance running. I was big into my running whenever I was younger. And just the competitive sports stuff, sports day, loved sports day. So yes, you may relate to this. And when it comes to love, you can be daring, you can be pioneering, you can be really spontaneous. Maybe love motivates you, right? There is this motivation to, to feel that love, to feel that connection with another, to feel desired. And maybe as well, it is your creative projects that motivate you a great deal by your ability to create. And you may be attracted to lovers who are action oriented, to lovers who are strong. And yeah, with love, I mean, there can be this pioneering attitude there, where even if you get knocked, sort of heartbroken, let's say, even if you get heartbroken, you still have this ability within you to go, but I am lovable. And you might like to feel special in love, but being an individual is also important. Right. If you have Aries on the 5th house cusp or Scorpio, you want to think about where Mars actually is. You want to think about, okay, what house is Mars actually in, and how does that Mars energy relate to the 5th house for you? Now, as for anger, maybe it can really anger you if or when you can't express yourself properly, or if others do not see you properly. I get angered by that. If I'm treated like I'm invisible, or like people do not see me, and I know that they do, right? If people ignore me, I get really angered by that. Yeah. So if you have Mars in the 5th house, just this could very well resonate with you. Again, though, perhaps this does depend on the sign. I mean, I've got Mars in Capricorn, and so maybe recognition is important to me. But then maybe you've got Mars in, let's go with Taurus, and perhaps what's important to you there in terms of being seen is that you can relax, or that you can unwind whenever you need to. And so if that's ignored, if that's overlooked, then you can become pretty annoyed. However, here's the thing, aspects to your Mars can suggest unnecessarily challenging lovers, possibly being jealous as well. And there could be some issues with feeling loved. I have disharmonious aspects to my Mars, and I have find love, especially loving myself. I guess that's a big thing with the 5th house, self-love. That has been a challenging thing for me, which I have been working through within my own life. And here's the thing, with time, you may learn to manage these behaviors, to work with these behaviors in a more positive way. And I also even want to add here, when it comes to children, you could very well be motivated to have children or motivated by children. There could be motivations there where it's like children remind you of your own childlikeness, of your own ability to play, maybe even you being motivated when it comes to play and fun. Maybe that is just so important to you. I mean, for me, what I do on here, it's fun for me, and that is a very important part, and it just lights me up. So yes, if you have Mars in the 5th house, you may relate there. All right, so let's now move on to Mars in the 6th house individuals. Your daily routines and workload are shaped by your energy levels, your drive, and by your motivations to get things done. Perhaps you're fast at completing your daily tasks, or you would rather get through them as quickly as possible. My goodness, as someone who has my secondary progressed Mars in the 6th house in Aquarius, I relate to this so much. It can almost be to my detriment at times, because I'm trying to get through things as quickly as possible. But then this is where certain mistakes and things can happen. So yes, if you've got Mars in the 6th house, maybe you can relate. Perhaps executing your daily chores the first time around is preferred, and you may become frustrated by mess or by people who slow you down at work. So you could become angered at coworkers, right? Annoyed at them. It's like, why are you not working as quickly as I want you to work? Or why are you not doing that correctly? Naturally, this is where we want to think about the sign that Mars is in. I mean, if you do, say, have Mars in Taurus in the 6th, maybe you're a lot more patient with coworkers there. But if you've got Mars in Virgo in the 6th, maybe you are a lot more critical, or you can recognize the mess a lot more. And it's like, that's really, really annoying. It is likely that you are a leader within your occupation, and the type of leader, again, we got to think about the sign. A reminder here, just as we go through these, the sign is going to show you the how, and then the house is going to show you the where. So if Mars actually is in Aries, I mean, you could be a leader within sales, within some type of like an enterprise situation, or you could be a leader within emergency services, But then if Mars is in Cancer, you could be a leader within a hotel, within the hospitality industry. You could be maybe a leader within the medical industry, thinking about health there to a degree, or some sort of supportive caregiving role. Still, you seek out positions where you can be independent, where you can be this leader. So a supervisor, a manager, a boss, what have you, and you bring plenty of passion to your job, plenty of energy, plenty of enthusiasm, especially if Mars is in Leo. There's a lot of passion, there's a lot of enthusiasm there. And like I said, your colleagues could very well annoy you, but hey, they could also encourage you. Maybe you're even motivated by your ability to make things happen at work, or you're motivated by the services that you provide, or you're motivated by the coworkers that you do in fact work with. And there's that that energy, right? The energy in the room just gets you going. That may matter to you. Now, if you have Aries ruling the sixth house cusp or Scorpio ruling the sixth house cusp, you may relate to some of what I just said there. But just a reminder, Aries is a much more outward physical sort of way of how this manifests, but Scorpio is more of this intense emotional way. But you want to locate where Mars is then too. Where is Mars within the chart for more information about your sixth house? However, disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest having a short fuse, really having that short fuse amongst coworkers. And I mean, just very snappy. Or headache issues. Because naturally, the sixth house is about health, and there could even be some issues with your blood pressure there. With time, though, perhaps you learn to manage these behaviors. Okay, let's now draw our attention to Mars in the seventh house. Mars in the seventh house. Your committed relationships and business partnerships are shaped by the passion and by the energy that you bring to them. You might not see this within yourself. You might not see these qualities necessarily, but you can actually be very strong, very willful, brave, and powerful within your relationships, powerful within your business partnerships as well. And whilst anger and self-assertion, they are more sort of far removed from your identity. Sort of like, I'm not angry. I don't get upset at people. Well, when in close contact with a lover, with a partner, with a friend, with a colleague, these qualities actually do start to come out of you. And you may then be able to see that it's others mirror these qualities back to you. Still, you will stand up for your significant other. You will defend your close friends. You can have this thing about you where you're very much about standing up for the underdog, standing up and protecting other people, being there for other people. And arguments and confrontations are likely. They are likely. But so you can face challenges. You can face those challenges when it comes to you and others. So sure, there could be arguments, there could be this likelihood of getting into confrontations and disagreements with other people, especially if they piss you off, if they really get to you. But hey, this can also lead to resolve. This can lead to maybe forming greater bonds or understanding, trying to kind of understand where the other person is coming from, where you're both coming from, where you both stand in that situation. So there can be this facing the challenge and stepping up to the challenge as well when it comes to clients, when it comes to customers. Maybe you even take risks too when it comes to business and contracts and agreements. You try things, you try new things. You could even be seen as very inspirational in this way by others for doing so. Then again, perhaps you attract partners who are bold or who are pushy. And then after a while, you push back. Maintaining your personal freedom within your relationships is preferred. Now, a couple of things here. The sign then does matter because the sign is going to show you the how. So when we think about the confrontation stuff and the facing business challenges or facing relationship challenges, let's say Mars is in, well, it actually is in Aries, you're going to be a lot more direct in how you deal with this. But if Mars is in Libra, well, you're going to be a lot more passive. You're not going to be as direct. But then Mars could be in Pisces, and there could be a lot that's bottled up, and there's a lot that's actually kept in. And then it can get to a point where things explode later on. Still, there's just something here about establishing some type of, or just establishing and maintaining some type of freedom within your partnerships. And furthermore, if you've got Aries in the 7th, so Aries on the descendant, if you've got Scorpio on the descendant, Scorpio in the 7th, you may relate to some of what I just said there. But of course, you want to locate where Mars actually is within the chart for more information there and relate that back to the 7th. And disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest taking your anger out on others or denying your anger, repressing your anger. That's not mine. Or projecting it onto other people. That's them. They're the angry ones. They're the angry ones. Not me, not me, not me, right? Again, as I've been trying to say, with time and with effort, you can learn to manage these behaviors. But I do think that overall, in terms of really what motivates you, I think you are motivated by relationships, by partnership, and business, business deals, getting those agreements signed, getting the contracts done. Oh, yes. In fact, within my solar return chart this year, Mars is in the 7th house, and I can see a lot of this, but Mars is in Capricorn in the 7th house in my solar return chart for this year. So I feel like a lot of this stuff that I talk about, to do with partnerships, clients, customers, the other relationships, it's about me taking responsibility. It's about me stepping up. And I can see how I am putting those plans in place. Okay, let's now move on to Mars in the 8th house, folks. If you have Mars in the 8th house, your intimate relationships and your shadow side are shaped by your intense frustrations and by overpowering anger. Okay, I've got Aries on the 8th house cusp, and I can relate to this quite a bit. Now, these things, so the shadow, intimate relationships, are also shaped by your subconscious demand for independence and freedom. You never forget a past attack. I do not. I do not forget. Maybe you have been in a few dangerous, potentially life-threatening situations. Again, as someone with Aries on the 8th house cusp, I have been in some rather dangerous situations throughout my life where I've had to defend myself. For you, Mars in the 8th house folks, perhaps you have been in this, you've been caught up in a situation like this, right? Where you've had to defend yourself. Possibly, and this is where I do want to be really sensitive, but possibly being traumatized by violence or sex. There. Addressing these issues can be challenging, okay? Can be very challenging. But hey, maybe this is also looking at the bravery and the courage on your part to go and to speak with someone for help, for support, or to have this courageous way of facing your shadow, facing the unconscious, facing suppressed emotions. The psychological stuff becomes a big part of like a motivation, I guess, right? To be motivated in a way to dive into your own psyche, to dive into your psychology. And you may also be eager to seek out mysteries. There could be motivations there, motivated to look at what's hidden, to explore occult subjects, to figure out the truth. Maybe you're big on this. You need to know the truth. There is a passion to explore what is hidden out of clear view, and to also possibly bring that stuff to light and to look at it, right? That's very much the 8th house. It's like, I'm not going to let this control me. I'm going to face this, to bring that information to light, and then it doesn't have any control over you. Recognizing your identity and your inner strength, these things are tied to your transformations. And then I also want to say, your very anger is about transformation, because this is the thing. You may find that you have suppressed angry feelings. I relate to this. Suppressing angry feelings, suppressing your ability to stand up for yourself and to be direct with others, to even just know your own autonomy. That could be a big thing. So this is where we're seeing your power. This is where we're seeing how you will transform throughout your life. So if you have Aries ruling the 8th house cusp, or Scorpio ruling the 8th house cusp, you may relate somewhat to what I just said there, to some of that information. But you also want to think about, where is Mars? Okay, where is Mars within the chart there? And then bring it back to the 8th house. And naturally, the sign that Mars is in is going to play a role there too. So, Mars could be in Gemini, for instance. So this stuff that I talk about could be related to the mind, related to communication, your siblings. But if, let's say, Mars is in Cancer, perhaps this stuff, it really goes deep, and it's very much intertwined with your upbringing and your family, and possibly female figures within your life. Or, hey, Mars could be in Libra, and maybe this stuff is really related to union or marriage or partnership there. However, disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest paranoia, or really, repressing the rage, repressing it. But this is about finding a healthy outlet for your anger too, to channel it. I'm so thankful because I have been able to channel my anger in certain ways. Give you just an example here. Aries is on the 8th house cusp for me, like I was saying, you want to think about that. And then Mars, when I locate Mars, it's in the 5th house. Where I channel my anger is through working out, exercise. Still, with time, you may learn to manage these behaviors. Moving on then to Mars in the 9th house. Mars in the 9th house individuals. Your beliefs and your higher education are shaped by your willingness to keep learning and keep questioning. Maybe you travel to another country or city as soon as you can. As soon as you get that passport, as soon as you get the green light, the documentation to move, or as soon as you decide that you want to live abroad, it's like, right, okay, I'm doing it. Studying in another country is likely here. You could very well be the first of your family, or the first to go and study abroad. And you can be quite inspirational to others for doing so. You may also possess a passion for travel, for philosophy. There's just this passion within you to learn more and to understand what you're learning as well. Maybe you value, just that the passion that is felt from getting into different ways of life and exploring new worldviews and different cultures and things like this. And you may also have a passion for, publishing or teaching, right? There could be that passion to teach, that passion to broadcast, and then, like I said, the passion to actually travel. Now, naturally, we want to think about the sign that Mars is in, because Mars could be in Taurus, for example, and perhaps things are more slower there, and you take your time, and you even think about your own security and your resources in combination with travel and your comfort, stuff like this. Or let's say Mars is in Leo and you actually have, you've possibly studied the arts or drama within a different country, possibly. And you're eager, just overall, if you've got Mars in the ninth, you're eager to broaden your horizons, really. Learning then about other cultures and ways of life, it's such an exciting feeling, especially if you have maybe Mars in Gemini and it's just this mental stimulation. It's this never-ending curiosity. Or you could have Mars in Aquarius, to explore places that are different and unique. Not everybody goes there, for instance. You don't really follow where the crowds are going. Overall, though, you'll also stand by your strong beliefs, by your morals, by your worldviews, and it is likely that you lead within a higher educational program or that you attend advanced learning courses that involve leadership. So there's learning courses, if you've got Mars in Cancer, could be related to caregiving or support. Or those courses, if you've got Mars in, let's say, we'll go with Sagittarius again, those things could be actually related to journalism or publishing or literally travel, right? Oh, yes, this is where we really see that you're motivated, right? You're motivated to learn, you're motivated to train and to take part in certain programs. Yeah, those higher educational programs that you take part in, they drive you forward, and it can just feel like it's never ending. You're already on to the next exciting new project that you're so eager to learn about and understand deeper. Now, if you have Aries ruling the ninth house cusp, or if you have Scorpio ruling the ninth house cusp, you may relate to some of this information that I just said, but you also want to think about where actually is Mars. Where is Mars located within your chart there? Which house is it in? Bring it back to the ninth. And I also want to mention here that, when it comes to anger, maybe you could become rather angered by people who are, they're not very accepting of other people's beliefs, or they're bigoted. They put other people down for what they believe in, and the prejudice stuff, right? That could be a big thing that really, really gets to you, especially if Mars is in Aquarius in your chart, right? Yeah. And you may also become angered by mentors or professors. There could be arguments there, for instance, right? And disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest, well, this is the thing, using faith as a way to justify any immoral actions. But again, this could also look like you becoming annoyed at people who are like this too. People who do justify, oh, well, they cherry pick. They pick and choose when it's okay, when it's not okay. And you can see through that, especially if you have Mars and Scorpio perhaps there. Anyway, with the disharmonious aspect stuff, if you do sort of find yourself, falling into this of justifying your own immoral actions, I do think you can learn to manage these behaviors. Okay, let's now think about Mars in the 10th house. Mars in the 10th house, individuals. Your career and your life path are shaped by your desires to lead and to be assertive. You might start your own business, or you might show courage as you work up your company's ladder, or, basically just with time, that progression, with time working up within whatever field you're in, even if you are self-employed, even if you have started a business of your own, there's still going to be this thing of keeping at it, working hard, one step at a time. Striving, determination. But then we also want to think about which sign Mars is in. So, for example, Mars could be in Scorpio in the 10th house, and there is more of this focus on investigation, research. Mars could be in Libra. There's more of a focus on partnership and social skills. being diplomatic. Law could be a big thing. Even if Mars is in Sagittarius in the 10th, law could be a big thing there, or philosophy. Indeed, you can be a warrior within your chosen profession. You possess a fighting spirit as far as success is concerned, right? You're like, nope, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep going here. Maybe your purpose involves honor, goal setting, or being a leader, being a pioneer, being a coach, possibly, especially if Mars is in Aries. And when you achieve your long-term goals, you feel energized, you feel motivated to accomplish more. So whenever you do achieve something, it's like, yes, on to the next thing. I am motivated. I'm going to keep going here. I've got this. You may also be motivated by status, by success itself, by security, by money, possibly. And there is a great deal of self-satisfaction when you actually do manage to reach the top of your own personal ladder of success, your, personal mountain of success. And just even feeling that self-satisfaction, that personal satisfaction within the role, the position that you're recognized for. Perhaps you followed in a parent's footsteps, or you were motivated by their strength or by their power. And you may want to be known for your bravery and for your independence as someone who didn't give up easily, right? Now, there's a couple of things I want to mention here. The first would be if you have Aries on the 10th house cusp or on the midheaven, if you've got Scorpio on the 10th house cusp or the midheaven, you may relate to some of this information. But of course, you want to think about where actually is Mars located within the chart for more information about your 10th house. And disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest, fighting with members of authority. And as I was saying there, with following in your parents' footsteps, being motivated by their strength and their power, what have you, those challenging aspects to your Mars could actually suggest that maybe, it wasn't quite like that, and it was more like it was very demanding, very cold. There was a lot of pressure. Maybe just overall, you can recognize you did feel a lot of pressure, maybe from your parents growing up to be something, to be a somebody, if you will. And like I said, with the disharmonious aspects to Mars, yes, fighting with members of authority. Maybe you become really angered by members of authority who, they lack integrity. That could be huge for you. A big no-no for you, So yeah, people who lack integrity, people who claim that they have the credentials, but they don't. And by the way, I'm just saying this could be overall, even if disharmonious aspects are to Mars or not, this could just be an overall thing. You become angered in this way. And if you can sense that anyone is trying to even tear you down, they're getting in the way of you achieving your goals, that is huge. That's a huge no. And so you're really going to stand up for yourself. Still, as for, challenging aspects, especially if there are potential arguments, with bosses, managers, you may also come to learn how to manage these behaviors. All right, let's now move on to Mars in the 11th house. If you have Mars in the 11th house, your friendships and your communities are shaped by your strong ideals and opinions, by your non-conforming ideas. I look at this as you being the one within the group, within the community, to say the thing or to do the thing that, maybe many people aren't saying, they're not doing. And your friendships and your communities are also shaped by your desires to take action within groups. You may lead within groups and clubs. Naturally, this is where the sign comes into play, because Mars and Libra, yes, it can suggest that you're going to lead within groups, but you're going to do so in a much more subtle way. Or if Mars is in Taurus, yes, you can lead within groups, but you're going to be a lot more relaxed and laid back about it. But if Mars is maybe in Leo or Aries, you're going to be a lot more, let's just say, straightforward, direct, energized, pumped, in your face. More passion, more passion, more passion. Still, if you have Mars in the 11th house, others in the group might see you as the group leader, or you prefer to take on a leadership role within teams, within clubs. Think about this even in terms of the organization that you're a part of, the firm, the company that you're involved in, that you work for. You could hold a position within that firm and you're a leader. And the power and the energy you bring gets others moving. Plus, you spark change within communities you're a part of. You can very well set something into motion and it changes the game for others. You could come up with something innovative, something new, right? Something very different. So because you initiate that, you push for that, then wow, the change happens. And it is also likely that you clash with group members. You could clash with friends, with people within the team, and especially, if you feel like your own autonomy, if your own independence is being threatened in any way, shape, or form, or if someone is kind of coming after you and you feel like, you need to defend yourself, then this is where we notice the clashing. There could even just be greater clashes in agreement. You may find that there are differences within the group. And whilst you're willing to stand up for causes and certain movements and everything, you will also readily defend your independence. And at the same time, being a part of the group can encourage you to act on your goals. I think you're motivated by that social change, or you're motivated by your ability to make an impact on other people's lives, or to innovate in some way, shape, or form. You may be motivated even by other people. It's like other people have this strong influence on you, or you can, feel like there is a contribution. Maybe contributing is a big factor here. So it's the contributions of the group, of the team, of, people within the club, whatever. These things then motivate you and encourage you. And then, like I said, with anger and stuff like this, it can really anger you if you feel like your own independence and your own freedom within the group is being taken away. If you have Aries ruling the 11th house cusp, or Scorpio ruling the 11th house cusp, you may very well relate to some of this information. But just as a reminder for everyone, right? Aries is going to be much more of this outward physical energy, and then Scorpio is going to be a lot more emotional and inward and intense. But you want to think about where Mars actually is within the chart for more information, and then relate that back to the 11th. And disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest that you push your strong ideals onto others. Bossing them around is likely, or trying to kind of control the group. So that may be something to be mindful of there. And with time, you may learn to manage these behaviors. Lastly, today, we have Mars in the 12th house, folks. Mars in the 12th house. Your spiritual practices and your hidden self are shaped by your difficulties to assert yourself and to put yourself first. You might not know how to go after what you want because you were not encouraged to do so growing up. Maybe you learned to bottle up your anger or to deny your identity. So in the case of having Mars and Gemini in the 12th house, a lot of this could be mental. Oh, you're not allowed to speak. Shut up. Or in the case of Mars being in Leo, this could have been your self-expression. You can't express yourself. So with the denial, there could have been a lot of repression there, okay? There may be unresolved anger issues beneath the surface, or this lack of direction. Such feelings may then play out within your dreams. Within your dreams, they may be trying to kind of come through, or subconsciously becoming angry on behalf of others is likely. Or being angry, and it's like, why am I angry? Why is this really getting to me? This can be quite a tricky thing here. So anger could be seen as, oh, I'm going to deny this, but maybe not in a conscious way. So kind of similar to what I was saying to people who have Mars in the 8th house, there is something here about channeling your anger. But you see, this stuff could also be more so spiritual. So your spiritual quest in this life, because the 12th house really is about our own spirituality, our connection to the divine, your spiritual quest involves reconnecting to the parts of yourself, with the parts of yourself that are courageous and that are spontaneous, that can take charge, that can jump into action. Reconnecting with those. You could do that through art, through media, dance, working out, maybe. And this then can create greater wholeness within your life, right? And then even just having that space, right? I can be angry. Or maybe as well, this is about coming to recognize what actually does motivate you and what drives you in life, because maybe, we go back to the lack of direction. Maybe you didn't feel like there was someone there to really direct you or to give you that guidance as a child growing up. And so maybe there is something about coming to terms with, okay, well, what actually motivates me? What gets me fired up? And hey, at the same time, Mars in the 12th house can suggest that you just need extra time to recharge. And that's completely fine too. You need that time to be on your own. You need that time to be behind the scenes, away from the public. And perhaps there have been themes of you being shamed for that or judged for that. But perhaps this is also a part of your own wholeness, if you will, creating that greater wholeness within yourself. So it's accepting your anger, accepting your identity can be healing, but also accepting that maybe you need more time in solitude, or you prefer to have that time to get right with yourself. Maybe this is really a big self-exploration, sort of spiritual journey for you that requires that compassion and that love and that kindness. Plus, I want to say that if Aries is on the 12th house cusp or Scorpio is on the 12th house cusp, you may relate to some of this information. You may very well relate to it, but you also want to think about actually where is Mars within the chart, which house is it in, and then relate it back to the 12th for more information there. And moreover, the actual sign that Mars is in is going to play a role. I mean, if Mars is in Pisces or Cancer, for instance, and it's in the 12th house, you may be more inclined to, really get involved in these spiritual practices. You may practice yoga even as a way to help you sort of connect with your identity and your anger. Or you could meditate, for instance. Or, Mars could be in Virgo. Mars could be in more of an earthy, practical sign there. So with Virgo, perhaps a lot of this is to do with diet and nutrition and recognizing what you're putting into your body and what you're watching, what you're consuming. Now, disharmonious aspects to your Mars can suggest blind rage or feeling even self-destructive. So that can be a real big issue with being self-destructive, not recognizing that you're spiraling or that you are being self-destructive. So kind of similar to what I was saying to Mars in the 8th house, folks, this is also where we see that, perhaps seeking some type of help or support can be really useful for you if you find yourself falling into this. But with time, with effort, I do think that you can come to learn to manage these behaviors. Okay, so that is everyone. That's all of the houses, Mars through the houses today. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for watching. And again, I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon for all of your support. And if you're interested in joining the Patreon, you can do so. And the link is below. Thank you for listening. And if you would like to book a reading with me, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. And if you really enjoyed today's video, you can always buy me a coffee, and no pressure, of course, but the link is just there. Just wanted to let you know. Again, I hope you find this video to be helpful. Please let me know if you did. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and again, let us know where Mars is within your chart. And hey, one more thing, you always got to keep in mind the entire chart. Look at your own unique chart. Some things may resonate, some things may not resonate, but I hope that what I was able to offer you today was helpful. Thank you, and I will talk to you all in the next video. Bye!